Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Ethan Rowling, and I'm the host of the Conversations with Chris and Ethan podcast. On this platform, we talk about various topics surrounding the Scott County Sheriff's Office and Chris's viewpoints on those topics. Through this platform, we hope that you will come to know Chris and his stances on these topics, and in doing so, we hope he can earn your vote. Chris is running in the Republican primary in June of 2024, and as a reminder, we're always looking to engage with the community and answer any questions you may have. So if you'd like us to address a specific topic on the podcast, feel free to reach out to any of our social media platforms. All right, so I thought we could go over some questions that we got through your Facebook page in relation to the campaign here. First question we got is somebody's wondering what changes you want to propose for small towns and rural areas.
Well, the first thing I would want to do, and the first thing that would need to happen is need to get out and see what the concerns of the small towns are, first of all. Each small town and rural area in Scott County has its own unique dynamics to it, based upon the population and how the community interacts with each other, based upon, what kind of businesses they have there, what people might want in New Liberty or way up there in Big Rock might not be the same thing as what they want in Walcott or Buffalo or Bluegrass or Donahue, McCausland, Princeton, Long Grove. So getting out and meeting with the people, sitting down with them, going to the city council meetings, seeing what their concerns are, how they want support from the sheriff's office would be vitally important. I know some generalized things that I would initiate right off the bat from the start would be one of the biggest things that we used to do back in the 90s when I got into law enforcement, and was, new to this, were walking patrols. We got out and we used to interact with the citizens of the community in the small towns. And I was in the military then, so we did walking patrols on the military bases. And even though it's a military base, each part of the base still had its own little separate community and had its own demographics and dynamics to it. So park the car, get out of the car, walk up and down the street, talk to people, shake their hands, see what their concerns are, have deputies out there interacting and engaging with the community one-on-one, individually, and not just driving through and, putting your head on a swivel and, I don't see anything that's going on. We're not going to know what the concerns of people living out in the rural areas of the county are if we're not out there walking and talking to them. Right. So I would, put criteria out there and require walking patrols in all the small towns so that we could get feedback and interact with those people. Another thing I would like to do is establish a community-oriented policing division. This is to bring deputies out to the small towns and the rural areas to have training and education with people in the community about what our resources are, what we can do, how they can better make sure that they are safe and secure in their own environment and in their homes, in their residences, and in their communities as well, and how they can work with each other in their community to make it more safe and secure, because we all know the criminal element in Scott County is everly expanding all the time. We have cars and vehicles stolen and burglaries taking place in every part of this county, and only coming together and working with the citizens of the community can we make positive change for that. So I want to make sure that I also restructure and reorganize the sheriff's office so we have more of a presence out in the small towns, out in the rural areas. People see us driving up and down the streets. People see us out on the gravel roads. People are talking to us and shaking our hands. They see deputies on a consistent basis, while also being able to provide support to our larger communities like Bettendorf and Davenport as well.
Yep. That community-oriented policing that you were talking about reminded me a lot about my first interactions with law enforcement as a kid in the neighborhood watch programs growing up in the 90s. That was a big thing in my community that, we'd all gather at the closest church, and a police officer from the police department would come and be present in those meetings and hear the concerns of the community. And it's funny thinking back on it now that the neighborhood I grew up in was pretty decent when I was growing up. It is not that way now. And I think the biggest common denominator, and I'm sure there's plenty of other factors, but I feel like the crime took an upturn when we stopped doing those community meetings, because not only was it a way for our voices to be heard within the police department, hey, we're having issues here, or hey, can you address this, or whatever. It was a way for the community to have an excuse to meet and be with each other than, some people aren't religious. They don't go to church. They don't have that community. Everybody kind of keeps themselves in society now, where a lot of people don't really know their neighbors the way that you used to. And I feel like a program like that could help foster a sense of community a little bit more, as well as, like you said, having the small towns be heard and addressing their concerns specifically, because the issues in Bluegrass are not going to be the same as the issues in Davenport. The issues in Long Grove are not going to be the same as the issues in Eldridge even. And I think that it's a really good idea to address that. One of my favorite parts about being on patrol was going out and getting out of my car and going and talking to people. Just because I remember being a kid and having that happen. Like, I lived across the street from a park, and I'd be over there playing, and a cop would just show up and come and, talk to us and hang out and, throw the ball or whatever for a little bit. And it's just little things like that that make such a big impact that people don't really think about it anymore. There's all sorts of videos of cops showing up and playing basketball at a community park, and everybody's like, oh, that's so cool. But it doesn't happen as often as I think it should anymore. I specifically didn't do it because I'm 6'7", and I didn't want to make everybody look bad, but just the community engagement, I think, is something that we can do better with. And having that brought down from the top, I think, is a really great idea.
Here's another thing that I want to caveat on this as well, as far as the small towns. Every small town has a town meeting, city council meeting,
right?
Call it what you will, but at some point in time, every town has a meeting going on in that town to discuss businesses, the business of the town, whether it's incorporated or not. But they're going to sit down and they're going to have a discussion. What is very important to me is we have a representative from the sheriff's office at every single town meeting. And I'm not just saying, well, the sheriff needs to go to every town meeting, or one of the higher ups from the sheriff needs to go to the town meeting. What I would like to do is I would like to empower deputies to be able to go and be the voice, be the representation for the sheriff's office, because while I will go out and go to town meetings and city council meetings and meet with those communities and hear their concerns, I also want to ensure that those communities can trust that they can go to any deputy in this agency and provide positive, negative feedback back up to the administration, and also ensure that their concerns and issues are forwarded up to us. And it builds these deputies to be involved in the community, and it empowers them to be leaders in the community. And that's what we want. We want everybody working in the sheriff's office to be a leader in the communities that we serve.
I think that another good point to bring up with that as well is, as much as you would love to be the person that shows up at every call, or the person that shows up at 3 a.m. when somebody's in an argument, you're not going to be the person doing that. Our deputies that are out working the road are going to be the ones there. And having them already embedded as a part of the community, being at those meetings, having their face shown and be known is a very valuable benefit that I think is overlooked a lot.
Everybody under my leadership and part of this team, everybody from the sheriff down to the lowest ranking individual in the sheriff's office would be required to put in the time, effort, and work for the community. We can't just sit up in a second floor office all day long and individualize ourselves and not be a part of the community and know what's going on. We all have to be out on the streets working. So, as I've said many times in the past when I've had conversations at work, it's time for everybody to put it bluntly, to shut up, strap up, and get your feet on the street. That's how we know what's going on in our community so that we can make a better, positive change for the future.
So moving on to another question here. Do you think the office of sheriff should be an elected position?
Absolutely.
Why is that?
Elected officials are accountable to the people. If you don't do the job, then the people need to hold you accountable and they need to remove you from that position when your term's up. If something you do while in that elected position is unethical, immoral, illegal, or of the nature that would be a dereliction of duty on your part, then there might be other agencies or entities that come in that might have to remove you from that position before the people get to remove you from that position. We have got to ensure that as an elected official, the sheriff is accountable to the people who put him or her in that position. And we have to continuously do what's right for the community by inspiring our employees to do what's right for the agency. And only by improving and building the agency can we do what's better for the community to bring positive change in society. Society has drastically changed in the last 10 to 20 years. And a lot of the things we were doing 5 years ago when I got hired on here are the same way we do things now. And society is not doing the same things now as what it was 5 years ago. But yet here we are using the same processes all the time, but we don't have an end goal in mind. What is our end state? Where can we say we've reached mission accomplishment? Now we need to refocus to strive for a new goal. And the sheriff in almost every part of the country, there was a time where the sheriff was appointed, centuries ago. It was appointed by the king, and, they were accountable and responsible to the king. Well, in most areas of our country, the sheriff is an elected position. Very few areas are they actually appointed. And they are accountable not to a single individual, but they are accountable to everybody. And everybody is not the good old boy system. So, yes, I believe the sheriff needs to remain as an elected position.
So I guess a question that wasn't posed by the public, but that I kind of had for myself is I've obviously been helping out with your campaign for a considerable amount of time here. And I talk to people all the time about the campaign. Why should we vote for Chris? Why is he even running? And I have that conversation with people repeatedly. And one of the questions that I get frequently from people are, why are you running on the Republican ticket? Because nobody's announced as of today. Still nobody has announced that they're running on the Democratic ticket. So wouldn't it just be easier to not even have to fight in the primary and just take the easy route of being the Democratic candidate? But you're not. You're running on the Republican ticket. Why is that?
I don't believe in doing what's easy. I believe in doing what I feel in my heart and my mind is right. When it comes to the office of the sheriff, unfortunately, the way that our democratic society is structured, you have to be part of a party to run for an office, or you have to declare to be an independent. The one thing about the office of the sheriff is, whether you say you're a Republican, whether you say you're a Democrat, whether you say you're an independent, it doesn't matter what party you affiliate with. What you have to always keep in mind and what you always have to maintain is neutrality, because you cannot equally enforce the law across the board if you don't maintain neutrality. I could have said, I was even approached at the end of the Eldridge Parade. I was approached by the chair of the Democratic Party, saying, we don't have a candidate. What are you about? What are your priorities? And I handed her my cards and stuff, and I said, I'm not a Democrat. I've never been a Democrat. I've been a Republican my entire life. I've never changed parties. I don't switch back and forth between sides so that I have an easier route to a nomination. I stay true to who I am. I stay true to what I say, and I stay true to what I know. And I've always been a Republican, and I easily could have said, I'm going to be an independent, or I'm going to, campaign for the Democratic ticket. But what I know is, while I am running against a Republican incumbent, which from what I understand and what I've been told has never been done before, and while I know it takes a lot more effort and you're continuously always running uphill, because I'm not from the area, I'm not from the community, so people don't know me as well. But I know that being out in the community and talking to people, I've had so many people look at me and shake my hand and say, well, who is the current sheriff? That lets me know that we're not getting out and talking to people and being involved in the community and interacting with our citizens the way we should be. And I believe the conservative Republican way is to have true interaction, transparency, and honesty and neutrality across the board with every individual and every demographic that we interact with. So I've never been one to take the easy road. I've never been one to go the easy way out. I've always worked hard for everything I've done. And, even since I've been here, people are saying, man, why do you never take a break? You never stop. 25 years in the military, I was institutionalized to always work every minute of the day that you're at work, to work hard, to accomplish your mission, to be vigilant, and to never take the easy way out. And I pride myself on doing that. So I would rather run an uphill race all the way to the top of the hill against a Republican incumbent than saying, you know what, I'm just going to go over here and take the easy way out and not do what I know is true to myself. So I kind of hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So I know that obviously our whole platform and reason for doing this podcast is to get your thoughts and opinions out there on this campaign and what you are thinking. Aside from the things that I've heard from working in the sheriff's office, I haven't really heard a whole lot of ideas from our current sheriff. Would you be open to the idea of a public debate where people could submit their own questions and have it moderated by a neutral party to hear both of your thoughts and opinions in the same sitting on various things?
Absolutely. Even at work, it's even been said, damn, Lay, you debate everything. You argue about everything. It's not arguing. It's a statement of facts. It's getting my opinion out there. I spend a lot of time in my profession doing research, updating myself on current law, reading case law, reading opinions, not only from, local courts, but also from the Supreme Court and from federal courts. We've got to stay vigilant. We've got to stay up to date, and we have to expand our knowledge base on a consistent basis. So I'm always looking forward to sitting down and discussing or debating a point with an individual, regardless of what it is. And I'm not afraid to answer any question whatsoever. So absolutely, I would openly welcome and be enthusiastic about being in a debate that was moderated by a neutral party and, having a discussion about what my opinions and beliefs are.
Sounds good. Well, hopefully somebody can put that together. Obviously, we're not going to do it because I think that would be a little bit unethical for one of the campaigns to organize it. But the option is out there for any, I guess, news outlet. A news outlet would be nice.
And I know, like, today is January 12th, and I just saw yesterday on the Scott County Republican Party, which would probably not be the neutral entity to formulate a debate, but I just saw that the current sheriff has announced his candidacy for re-election. So we have two candidates. Let's get a debate going and let's have a discussion and see what the public thinks.